Good morning, everyone. The topic that I am going to discuss to you this morning is all about designing test tasks to measure L2 grammatical ability. Performance on grammar tests can be influenced by many factors besides grammatical ability. In fact, test scores can vary as a result of the personal attributes of test takers, such as their age, gender, and language background. They can also fluctuate due to their strategy use, motivation, and level of anxiety. However, some of the most important factors that affect grammar test scores, aside from grammatical ability, are the characteristics of the test itself. In fact, anyone who has ever taken a grammar test or any test for that matter knows that the types of questions on the test can severely impact performance. For example, some test takers perform better on multiple choice tests than on oral interview tests. Others do better on essays than on closed tasks. And still, others score better if asked to write a letter than if asked to interpret a graph. Each of these tasks has a set of unique characteristics called the test task characteristics. The test task characteristics is a characteristics can potentially interact with the characteristics of the examinee to influence test performance. For example, his or her grammatical knowledge, personal attributes, topical knowledge, and affective schemata. Given the potential impact of test task characteristics on performance, it is important for test developers to understand the individual characteristics of the tasks they use and to follow systematic procedures for designing and developing tasks that will elicit the best possible manifestations of grammatical ability. So it means that we can account for the effect of the method on how we interpret scores on grammar exams if we understand both the nature of grammatical ability and the nature of the test tasks we utilize. If we don't, we risk obscuring the notions we want to assess with non-linguistic elements in performance. Considerable research evidence has demonstrated that the methods we use to elicit test performance, otherwise known as test method, significantly impacts how test takers scores on tests. Early studies examining the effect of test method on performance viewed method as a holistic activity such as an interview test or a reporting task. Bachman and Palmer 1982 examined whether the variation and scores obtained from speaking and reading tests was due to the examinee's speaking and reading abilities or to the methods used to elicit speaking and reading performance, for example, an oral interview, a translation test, and self ratings. And surprisingly, they found considerable evidence of the test method effect in the data. In other words, the self ratings they use seem to be more a measure of the method than of test takers' underlying abilities, and the interview tests appear to be more a measure of interviewing than of the student's underlying reading ability. So, it means that the issue is not always about the test takers, but with the manner of delivering the work, or that the issue is not always with the students, but with the teacher's teaching approach for delivering the test. When the individual characteristics of these holistic activities were described, research has again shown a clear interaction between the specific characteristics of the test takers and test performance. In this regard, Douglas and Slinker 1985-1993 investigated the effect of the manipulating characteristics such as the instructions, vocabulary, contextualization, distribution of information, level of abstraction, topic, and genre of the test performance, and found that scores on a general test were different from those on the mathematics and chemistry versions of the speaking test. So, for example, if a teacher gave BS Ed students a test about the topics from other fields like nursing, of course, BS Ed students will find it difficult to answer the test because it's not related to their course. So there's a big possibility that BS Ed students get a lower score than nursing students. So, these results show that individual test characteristics significantly impact performance. So, as teachers, we need to observe and identify the weaknesses and strengths of our students because no matter how good you are at teaching, if you don't know the needs of your students, your teaching is useless. Observe your students first for you to apply the exact teaching methods and strategy that will fit to the needs of your students. And also, do not compare your intelligence to your students because each students have different abilities.